Good afternoon. I'm Wayne Percy and I'm here with our Simply Success series. Today we're meeting Darlene Stewart. Darlene and I have worked together in the past and she focuses on the human side of business and business development. But Darlene, why don't you explain it to us?
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Wayne, for having me on and for creating this platform for us to address people who are in the midst of some pretty drastic change right now. So what I do is I help people in situations just like this, whether it's large organizations or leaders, new leaders or leadership teams that have been intact for a while, and individuals who are looking to make change, or in this case, looking to respond to change pretty quickly. So the on-ramp to their new opportunity, if you will, used to be quite long, and people would come and say, I'm not really satisfied with what I'm doing. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to make the change. And we'd have a discussion around what their tolerance was for that on-ramp away from their current career onto the new one, or away from their current strategic plan onto the new plan if we were dealing with larger teams. And now there is no on-ramp or off-ramp. It's a pivot, and people have to reinvent themselves really quickly. So that's where my coaching and my consulting business comes in.
Who's your ideal client?
I love that question. My ideal client would be an individual and organization that's ready for change. So, regardless of who that person is in that audience, is someone who is curious, someone who is honest with themselves, because this isn't easy and change isn't easy, it's painful, and looking at the business fundamentals that that they have under their belt, and the things that they need to learn really, really quickly, and being able to engage and be willing to change.
You used the word pivot. What is
Mm-hmm.
your number one piece of advice for people forced to work from home in isolation?
Mm. Yeah, so that's so funny. I love that word, because you're seeing it and you're reading it so much right now. Is that a pivot? Because a pivot assumes that there was no time for change, and really that's what we are all dealing with in the face of this pandemic, and how it's shifting how we live and how we communicate. And so folks that hadn't been working online before, or maybe would try and Skype their parents maybe once in a while, now this is the mode of communicating. In Ontario today, our students started online learning with their teachers. So it's been a big shift for the teachers, and it's a way that our kids have communicated for a long time. So I think when I look at pivot and I look at the number one tip, is I'm just saying we have no choice right now but to embrace it. So if you want to talk about flattening a curve, is that resistance to change. We'd always talk about the early adopters and the resistors to change. There's not a lot of time right now to not pivot if you want to stay relevant, if you want to have a successful business. So I guess I encourage everybody to look at that pivot as a catalyst for their change, a catalyst to change something that they maybe have been meaning to do for a long time and were afraid to step out into a new career, or a catalyst to change something that they don't have the luxury to research and do huge plans against, and do A/B testing. This is just now, and you can have a much it doesn't have to stop you, is what I'm thinking, Wayne. This pivot for me just means, what could you do differently? What do you know? What do you do right now? And how could you deliver it differently to still have a relevant, sustainable business?
Let's talk about a small client case
Mm.
study example that you and I discussed yesterday. Um, a lady owns a hairdressing salon in a medium-sized town, so knows her clientele well. She's kind of the community hairdresser, and she's out of business. What did you advise her to do?
Well, I have to give credit to Gina Gomez, because she has got a business herself in Los Angeles that's a personal development, and she had come up with the idea to reach out to folks that she cares about in her community and say, what are you doing right now to generate income? Because when you're talking about a hair salon, you're talking aesthetics or dental offices and things where, that's not online business. What can you do right away to monetize, to make money? And the suggestion had been to create do-it-yourself kits as touch-up kits, because all of us, if we're online, my goodness, ladies, we want to we want to make sure our roots aren't showing if we're online. But just a great way to stimulate business. And when Jean and I were talking, she shared the idea, and I shared it with our local salon, who is, or my local salon, who is not only doing that, but then to your message later in the day is providing do-it-yourself instructions with that, whether it's online or on phone, because while your hair salon can give you the recipe for your root touch-up, you still could not do it properly. So it's a great way to, it just shows the pivot. It shows that you don't necessarily have to be out of business, and could you look at it differently?
And in the case of your town, this keeps our customers happy,
Yes.
keeps her engaged with the customers, gives her a new way of helping their customers, so that when they can come back to her salon, they're going to remember her and be loyal to her.
Absolutely. Excellent. It's a great service. Sorry to interrupt you. It's a wonderful service to offer.
Excellent. Now, how would our viewers get a hold of you? How would they find you? Email, website?
So I have a profile on LinkedIn, of course. It's if you looked at Darlene Stewart, and then my website is dkstewartconsulting.com, and maybe we can provide that link, because that's a very long website.
Yes, we'll have that across the bottom of the screen. Darlene, thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great afternoon, and I hope you stay safe and healthy.
Thank you so much, Wayne. The same to you. And thanks again for the opportunity. I hope everybody stays safe, and a special shout out to everybody on those first responders who are keeping our lives comfortable while we worry about what to do when we're in isolation. So thank you.